Good morning. Hello. We have a lot to talk about today. Stuff that we haven't talked about recently. So I'm excited to get into it. Please make sure to send some likes. Hey, there's my American husband. Oh, okay. Well, hello. Oh, hey, Darren. I was like, wait a minute. Who's this? Hello. He's wildly jealous of her success. That he is. So, did anyone watch the Super Bowl last night? I did. I actually watched most all of it. Well, semi-watched it. I was playing phone games while I was sitting in the living room. I was playing all of those little phone games that you whip out when you're at the doctor's office and you're like, ugh, what am I going to do with my life? I wanted to be a part of it, and I was watching some of the commercials, and in my view, I think some of the commercials were really good. Some of them were really kind of silly, and some of them, I think, had a really good message. But anyway, so did anyone else watch the Super Bowl last night? I appreciate every single one of you. Said sadly, I'm taking that your team did not make it. I appreciate every single one of you. Please make sure to send some likes. And we're going to get into this story here. And this just really shows the psychology behind people who support MAGA. It is no secret that Donald Trump has a thing against Taylor Swift. But this wasn't always the case. In fact, Donald Trump was actively trying to get Taylor Swift to endorse him. Remember this? Back a while ago, before she actually endorsed anyone in 2024, Donald Trump would repost, retruth, whatever it's called, saying like, Taylor wants you to vote for Donald Trump. Obviously a mimic on, or kind of like a substitute for an Uncle Sam, kind of like pointing at you. And he also posts stuff like this: Swifties for Trump. Swifties turning to Trump after ISIS foiled Taylor Swift's concert. What? It's really, really baffling to me how a lot of Donald Trump's politics is honestly just revenge. It's very, very personal animosity, personal grievances. We don't have a leader that is guided by an ideology. We don't have a leader that is guided by a set of beliefs, of values. Instead, he spends all of his time on grievance politics. Oh, I don't like this person. I don't like this person. If you look at the last few posts, she was booed. We all saw it live. Yeah, she was a little bit. So was Donald Trump. That's just the facts. And if you can't handle that, that's your problem. So when we're looking at all of this, President Trump taunted Taylor Swift on Sunday after both attended the Super Bowl and was claiming that she was booed out of the stadium. Well, she was not booed out of the stadium. She was booed. But, so it's important to note that, this is what Donald Trump said on his Truth Social. Y'all, please make sure to send some likes. I work hard to do this morning live show. He said, the only one... Hold on a second. Let me get my little hands. Let me get my little hands. Hold on. The only one that had a tougher night than the Kansas City Chiefs was Taylor Swift. She got booed out of the stadium. MAGA is very unforgiving. Well, pause. She did not get booed out of the stadium. And if we're going to be fair here, if we're going to be absolutely fair, Donald Trump received cheers and boos at the same time. So don't for a second think that it's all one-sided. But this is the thing about MAGA. They don't need it to be factually correct for them to believe something or want something to be true. They're going to be delusional and try and push it into existence. So if we're going to look at things objectively, both of them got cheers, both of them got boos. That's just how it is. And if you can't accept that, reality, then I'm sorry. You have a bone to pick with reality, which is really sad for you. It's really sad for you. And see, this is the thing that is so dangerous about our political moment. These little things are so trivial. But when it comes to actual substantive policy-based issues and real-world situations, the same applies. where a lot of far right-wing conservative MAGA people are so craven to mold reality to their whims that they will literally just throw out information they don't like. Objective reality is not up for debate. What's up for debate is your interpretation, what you think needs to happen. But that's what's so dangerous about this political moment. Is it's not based on an ideology, not based on a set of facts, not based on any principles or morals. Instead, MAGA just constantly supports the man who is all about grievance politics. That's all that it is. So when we're looking at the situation, it's less about the specific moment and it's more about the message behind it. What does it mean? Also, this is something that Donald Trump said, which is really wild. He said, hold on, let me get out my little hands. And by the way, we have some very loudmouth people here in the chat. So if you're a quiet listener and you're enjoying these live streams, just quickly comment yes. We have a couple really obnoxious loud people that are trying to hijack the space. So let's not let them. So if you're a quiet listener and you enjoy these live streams, just comment yes. Or even comment your favorite emoji. And the reason I do that is because sometimes over social media, it's easy for us, and I say this all the time, it's easy for us to look at the comment section and think that it's representative of everyone in there. But that's not always the case. Sometimes 90% of the comments can be taken up by only 9 listeners. So make yourself visible. So this is also what he truthed out, posted, whatever. He said, the worst part of the Super Bowl by far was watching the kickoff where as the ball is sailing through the air, the entire field is frozen, stiff. College football does not do it and won't. Whose idea was it to ruin the game? Now, I am no expert on football, okay? I'm not. Though, I don't think there was any major plotline conspiracy attempt to ruin the game. Whose idea was to ruin it? I don't think that anyone's idea was to ruin the game. Like, the chips just fall where they may. So, like, what is he trying to say here? Like, what a surprise, the zesty guy doesn't watch football. What a surprise, the person that is constantly always coming in here trying to insult me has nothing else better to do with their life than insult a stranger over the internet that they secretly have a crush on because, I mean, who wouldn't? I think I'm funny. That all being said, like, this just goes to show the mentality of Donald Trump. I don't know if he's doing this to be intentional or to be funny or to troll. I would not be surprised if he is serious, thinking that someone did ruin the game. Now, Donald Trump was wrong about something. Well, he's wrong about a lot of things, but let's just point all of this out. To everyone in here, how would you react? How would you react if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris were to have a pre-game interview where either one of them made a prediction on which team is going to win? How, like, just put that scenario out there. Let's say that Joe Biden was in a pre-game interview with someone of a news network, let's say Brett Baer, and predicts that the Chiefs are going to win. And as you all, spoiler alert, the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl to the Eagles. It would have been a historic moment for a team to have gone to the Super Bowl and won 3 times. But unfortunately, depends on fortunate or unfortunate, the Chiefs did not win. It was 20-44, and the Eagles won the Super Bowl. That all being said, Donald Trump actually predicted a win for the Chiefs in his pre-Super Bowl interview with Brett Baer. And this is, as you can see here, he's like, Oh, Patrick Mahomes has a phenomenal wife. Phenomenal wife. She's a mega fan. That wasn't even the score, LMAO. 20-44. That wasn't the end score. That was the end score. Like, I don't... What? What? 22-40. My apologies. Sorry. I was close. Sorry. 22-40. Close enough. Y'all so addicted to Donald, it's funny. I'm not addicted to him. He's our president. Would I, like, put the shoe on the other foot? For the last 4 years, were you not, in your own logic, addicted to Biden? You would say that's crazy. You'd like, I'm not addicted to Biden. I'm just criticizing him or calling him out or whatever your reason is. Do you not extend the same reason to someone like me? Or do you decide to pick and choose when you want to do things because you want to be obnoxious? It's so funny. These people, don't you know you're being obnoxious? Like, you don't need to be. So, that all being said, Donald Trump actually made a prediction that the Chiefs were going to win. So, Brett Baer said, so, game prediction. And he said, I hate to do it, but I just say that I've watched this great quarterback, who's, by the way, a phenomenal wife, okay? She's a Trump fan. She's a MAGA fan. So, I happen to love her. Sorry, Melania. She's mine now. I love Mahomes. She's my home. So, I watched her big interview and I said, well, it's pretty good. She's she's great and he's great. I guess you have to say that when a quarterback wins as much as this one, I have to go with Kansas City. Now, Kansas City did not win the Super Bowl. It was 22-40. And this segment isn't to like, oh look, Donald Trump is wrong. Like, I'm not someone that's like trying to rub it in or anything like that. But let's think critically and put the shoe on the other foot. If this were to have been Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, just take a gander for a second. You would see all of these MAGA conservative people screaming at the top of their lungs on Twitter, Truth Social, whatever, X, whatever it's called, screaming at the top of their lungs that Harris was wrong, is an absolute failure, Joe Biden was wrong, made an absolute mistake, unpatriotic, blah, blah, blah. And they would just be going obnoxious. If we were in that timeline, I'd be like, oh my God, calm down, y'all. It was just a prediction. People get them wrong. But let's think about what that means right now. Are Democrats going to take to social media and be like, oh, Donald Trump is wrong, ha, 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 like being obnoxious about it? No. We're way more focused on substantive things. The reason I point out that counterfactual, that scenario, is to show the motivations, the personality, what drives people on different sides of the political spectrum. You have a lot of people on the right constantly obsessed with the image, the virtue signaling, the trolling. What does that show? That's just objectively. What does that show? You can come to your own conclusions. But I guarantee that that would happen if it was the opposite timeline. And I'm not here to tell you what to think of that. I'm just saying that would have been happening if it was the other way around. What does that tell you about our citizenry, this current political moment that we are in? And also, what does it tell you about Donald Trump as a person when he posts on his Truth Social a couple times AI fake images of Taylor Swift endorsing him? Back in 2024, he posted this, being like, Taylor wants you to vote for Donald Trump. Wants you. First off, at this time, Taylor Swift had not even endorsed anyone, let alone Donald Trump. So, it's interesting how Donald Trump will actually do AI-generated images and then accuse other people of doing AI generated images. Objectively, it's a lot like someone who like lets out a really, really massive fart and then starts projecting and blaming everyone else. This has been Republican strategy for a while, and I can't say that it's not effective. It is project what they are doing on other people to get ahead of the narrative, which in my view is very obnoxious. If you are someone who commits any sort of crime, which don't, and then you project it on other people, then you give the optics of putting them on the defense and you on the offense. This is what Republicans do quite often. And unfortunately, in some ways, it's been very successful. You're pinning your opponent in a defensive position. And Democrats often, whether they realize it or not, always have a defensive position. Because the Republicans, MAGA, has taken up this being like always against the, being on the offensive. And this is something, as a political scientist, has been one of the biggest shifts of our time. Because if you remember, back in 2007, 2008, it was a little bit more of the opposite. John McCain and John McCain style people, Republicans, were trying to run to the middle, because they were seeking to be the Republicans that were socially liberal but economically conservative. Do you remember that? Back in 2008, when Obama and McCain were running for president, and y'all please make sure to send some likes, I love all of you. It was the Republicans that were seeking to then run to the middle. Now, in this current political moment, back in 2020, it was especially Joe Biden trying to run to the right, to the middle. So you see this ebbing and flowing. But right now, Republicans, even though they tried running to the middle back in 2008, Obama was victorious. And even though Biden ran to the middle back in 2020, he was barely victorious. He only won by like several thousand votes in a couple different swing states. So I'm saying all of that because it shows in this moment something that I don't think has really been talked about. How people like Donald Trump will seek to get ahead of the narrative, will use people like Taylor Swift, do an AI generated image, and then when there's an image that he doesn't like, pointing fingers and being like, that's AI generated, that's fake news, that's wrong, you're guilty, you're deplorable. Every single accusation is a confession where they are doing the exact same things that they are condemning. But do they realize, or do they care? Who knows? That's up for speculation. But what's so interesting is Donald Trump is so motivated by grievance politics. He posts stuff like this. Being like, Taylor Swift wants you to vote for Donald Trump. When again, she didn't endorse anyone. And then she ended up endorsing Kamala Harris. And Donald Trump is still very, very motivated to try and put her down. Which, yes, Taylor Swift was booed by a few people at the game. She was also cheered. People went woo at the game for her. Same as Donald Trump. Anyone that's typically in the public figure, a lot of people are going to have opinions about them. People have opinions about me. People have opinions about everything. So, that all being said, the reason I'm talking about this story is because this really underlyingly shows the motivations behind Donald Trump. Out of all the things in the game, he was very fixated on talking about Taylor Swift. Why? Well, let's do a let's do a counterfactual, a hypothetical. If Taylor Swift decided to endorse Donald Trump, and people were to have booed Taylor Swift at the game, if people were to have booed Taylor Swift at the game, he would say, those are un-Americans, they're Marxists, they're socialists, they're communists, they're deplorable, they're awful in America, they're awful. But then if people were to have cheered Taylor Swift if she endorsed MAGA, oh, they're patriots. They're patriots. They love America. They love this country. They love everything about it. They bleed red, white, and blue. So it's always about whatever is convenient. Do you all understand what I mean? Democrats do the same. So I love that. I love that. Give me an example of when Democrats have done the same. It's funny how, like, as soon as I point out a pattern of behavior, you say, because you want to avoid thinking about it, you say, no, you! Isn't that like a second or third grade thing to do? Isn't that like a second or third grade thing to do? As soon as you point out the flaws of someone else's logic, thinking, or breakdown when they've made a mistake, or being obnoxious, or a pattern that is not consecutive, or things that don't make sense, childish behavior, you then say, no, you. Do you all understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of angry MAGA people in the chat, but we're not here to talk with them. Do you all, to the quiet listeners, do you understand? Like, do you know what I mean? I know you are, but what am I? What do you mean he never mentioned her? What do you mean he never mentioned her? I just, it's so funny. It's so funny when you're like, he never mentioned her. So you're saying that Donald Trump was lying when he put out his Truth Social tweet. I can't with these people. Where's the source other than you? I'm this right here. Absolutely understand. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to point all of that out. The big takeaway from this story is Donald Trump, and it's no big secret, but Donald Trump is motivated so much by grievance politics, where he's so obsessed with anyone who is against him and constantly praises anyone who is with him. Didn't matter what their positions were, what their stances were, what their ideology was, doesn't matter, because Donald Trump is purely about team sports. Purely about team sports. Are you team with me, or are you a team against me? We need to, as Americans, stop being so team sports oriented. Take off the jersey. Take off the jersey. And you're like, well, what do you mean by that? And this is my opinion, you can disagree. Instead of constantly trying to berate people for what party they might associate with, if you want to criticize someone, criticize them for the content of what they do believe in, or support, or lack thereof. I'll give you an example. I will criticize and condemn people who believe such abhorrent things like trans people are somehow ruining the country. I don't care if you are a registered Democrat or Republican. If you have that kind of belief, then I am going to heavily criticize you. If you have this belief that we need to instead give massive tax cuts to rich corporations and the wealthy, I don't care if you're a registered Democrat or Republican, I'm going to condemn you just as equally. So we need to, of course, it's easy for us to use political party as a heuristic or a shortcut. And yes, they often hold up a lot. And a lot of people will just blindly support what their Team Red or Team Blue does. It happens all the time. But the reason I bring that up is Donald Trump is not about an ideology. He is not about a set of beliefs. He is not about a set of morals. He is about whatever personally benefits him, because he is a grifter. He is an opportunist. The perfect example is his hatred of Taylor Swift. He loved Taylor Swift when she hadn't endorsed anyone. As soon as she endorsed someone, oh, she's awful, she's the worst, she's gross, she's deplorable, everyone boos her. If Taylor Swift had endorsed Donald Trump, she's the best, she's the greatest, she's one of the American heroes, she's a hero. What does that tell you about a person? What does that tell you about a person? If I was running for president and I wanted to get the endorsement of Shaquille O'Neal, and let's say that Shaquille O'Neal decided to endorse my opponent, and I'm like, oh, Shaquille O'Neal's the worst, blah, 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 blah. Like, but if he endorsed me, oh, he's the best, he's the greatest. Like, you would say that's so stupid. So what does that mean? If I were to act like Donald Trump, people would berate me. And rightfully so. So when Donald Trump acts like Donald Trump, y'all are like, oh, okay. It's just... Anyway. Moving on. So let's talk a little bit about some other things that have been happening here. I've talked a lot about Trump voter remorse, the FAFO season, around how a lot of different, people on the right are actually taking to social media to say, hey, I supported Donald Trump and I voted for him, but now I regret it. I'm going to be posting a lot more videos like that, but I also want to talk about some other important stories here. For those of you who are new here, please say hello in the chat, because I like to get to know new people. Also, I want to point out that this story might be a tiny bit dry, but it's important to note. It's important to realize. So let's talk about some of what Donald Trump has done recently, and some of his people, his cronies. So you may be kind of exhausted with hearing about Gaza or the Middle East, but let me just give you a tiny bit of an update. Donald Trump actually at one point said that he wants to forcibly remove everyone from the Gaza Strip and relocate them so that the United States can assume ownership of the Gaza Strip to rebuild it into, quote, the Riviera of the Middle East. Now, not only is this criminal, goes against international law and I think it's like the Roman statute, but this is also just cruel. Forcibly removing people from their homes. It's the modern day Trail of Tears. No, I'm not even joking. If you are forcibly relocating against their will a group, a population from one area to another, it's like the Trail of Tears. When the colonists were saying, hey, Native Americans, you got to move out because we want this land. And we are somehow okay with that. Or I shouldn't say we. Some Americans are somehow okay with that. So, Donald Trump's outrageous plan to remove the Palestinian people from Gaza, assume U.S. ownership of the Gaza Strip, and make it into the Riviera of the Middle East reveals his intent to commit a war crime and a cost against humanity. Now, people are saying this is unlawful, immoral, and irresponsible, and it's actually worse than ethnic cleansing. And by the way, it is unlawful deportation or transfer of a population. The unlawful deportation or transfer of a population constitutes a war crime under the Rome Statute for the International Criminal Court. So this goes into some of the details. I was actually looking through some of the fine print. Someone said blocking you. Why haven't you done it yet? You don't follow through on your promises. You don't follow through on your promises. I'm not your enemy, y'all. I'm just here to inform you. Oh, it's so funny when someone's like, I'm blocking you. It's like, okay, so far you haven't followed through on your promises because you haven't blocked me yet. And also it doesn't need to be a declaration. These people are really obnoxious. Do you enjoy being a coward hiding behind a screen? Like, no, truly. To some of those people, do you enjoy trying to harass random strangers online who are just minding their own business? And then you have the gall, the gumption, the audacity to claim that you follow Jesus and you are all about love. I come from a very Christian conservative upbringing. The modern right-wing harassers and rage typers on this app are the furthest from what Jesus would want us to follow. And I'm sorry that you have corrupted and bigoted my religion for the purpose of making yourself feel good instead of actually living out, what God actually promised. It's actually super, super immoral, deceitful, and gross. It does a disservice to everyone who is religious. And this is just a small little side rant. It does a disservice to everyone who is good-hearted, religious, and actually follow love and all of that. It's not an airport. You don't have to announce your departure. It's truly though. Flight 517, going for the obnoxious person in the comments. You're now boarding. Actually, no, you're just really boring. Are you just bored being in this live? I was trying to come up with some funny puns, and that just wasn't working. One earring doesn't make you religious. I love how you're telling me what my religion is. Anyway. Do you enjoy being a faceless commenter that is so cowardly that you won't show your face? Love that. Anyway. That all being said, Donald Trump wants to take ownership of the Gaza Strip and transform it into the Riviera of the Middle East. And by doing this, would be violating the Rome Code, International Criminal Court law, international law, by formally relocating all these people without their consent to redevelop a region. I will say it again. It is the modern day Trail of Tears. The Native Americans didn't want to be relocated. The colonists forced them to. If America says, hey, Palestinians, we're going to forcibly relocate you somewhere else. Have you asked them what they want to do? Have you asked them how they want to go about rebuilding? So, when breaking all of this down, he said, the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We will own it, get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of that area. Do something different. You can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for the last 100 years. Meanwhile, he says, I don't think people should be going back to Gaza. Why would they want to return? That place has been HE double hockey sticks. Have you asked the Palestinians? Have you asked the people whose families have been hurt? Whose lives have been destroyed? Whose communities have been uprooted? What they would like to do? Seriously, for anyone who's supporting Donald Trump, you're actively supporting someone like Andrew Jackson, who forcibly removed all of these native people from their land. That's not something that's okay. You can't just forcibly relocate a whole population of people without their consent. Do you like being a monster? Do you like cheering on immorality? Think of it in the terms of the Bible. Let's say that you were to forcibly relocate an entire population of people in the Bible. Jesus would be like, yeah, don't do that. Except that's exactly what these people are supporting. It's like, is the cruelty the point? Is the cruelty purpose? Is that what you're doing on purpose? Is it something that you get off on, trying to be rude and displace other people, or criminalize them, or marginalize them? Like, is that the point? I truly don't get it. I truly don't get it. He's like, anyone who saw the video clips on social media exhibiting the joy. Oh, no, wait, this isn't Trump. Anyone who saw the video clips on social media exhibiting the joy Palestinians felt upon returning home to northern Gaza, despite its total devastation and putting tents on top of the rubble in their destroyed homes, will understand the meaning of the Palestinians' attachment to their homeland. Let's do a hypothetical example. Let's say that you had Appalachia. I live in North Carolina. I went to Appalachian State University. I've lived there. I understand that whole region. It's a whole culture there. Let's say that Appalachia happens to get destroyed. Doesn't need to be, the details don't need to be by who or for what purpose, whatever. Appalachia gets destroyed. And let's say that you have some leader from France, from Belgium, from Japan, from China that says, you know what? We are going to forcibly relocate all of you people, and we're going to assume ownership of Appalachia, and we are going to development into the Riviera of the Appalachia. Don't you think that the people of Appalachia would be like, excuse me, not your land, not your decision. What in the world are you doing? That's not okay. I don't care if my home is destroyed. I don't care if all of that. I want to be with my homeland, my brother, and my attachment to my community. It's not for you to decide. Now go back to present day. Are you a flip-flopper? Do you conveniently flip positions when it suits you? Are you an opportunistic and immoral prick who decides to do that? Or are you going to have an actual standard, a morality, a set of beliefs that you live by? Are you only choosing to be convenient upon acting what is in self-interest to you, going against the exact same teachings that you supposedly go and claim that you have when you go to church on Sunday? Like, I am so over the hypocrisy. I'm so over the anger. How about you don't support a leader like Trump who does this kind of stuff? What it shows is that you're in a cult. It really is so... I can't begin to describe it. For anyone who supports this kind of thing, you're actively supporting another exact scenario like the Trail of Tears. Things that we teach children in school is a bad thing to have happened in history. If I'm spot on with what I'm saying here, please send some likes. I love all of you. I really have no words. But see, the thing is, I don't think that a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump consciously realize that this is what he does. Of course, there are some people who believe that cruelty is the point because they don't view their fellow person as a human. They view anyone that is different from them as an enemy. Hence, exactly the behavior sometimes we see in the chat. I'm not your enemy, and you're not mine. I'm simply just pointing out that we can't allow cruelty to stand. We can't allow displacement to become a popular thing. Yet that's exactly what Trump is arguing for. That's exactly what he's advocating for. Like, it's just... Oh yeah, no, Cheyenne, I would not be surprised. There are people that will nod along like seals. So it's just, I have no words to describe it. Now, shifting stories here, do we want to go to another one? On this kind of same realm, this same plane. Under the Trump administration, they are currently putting up a big tent city in Guantanamo Bay. You heard me right. For people who don't know, Guantanamo Bay is in Puerto Rico. And under the Trump administration, they've been erecting a whole bunch of tents. A big tent city in Guantanamo Bay. This is only one snapshot. You can see here an open tent facility was rising on a field near the base's Marine barracks housing of foreign laborers and crude. Oh, it's Cuba. I am so sorry. Cuba. My mistake. Thank you. Oopsies. Why Guantanamo? No U.S. jurisdiction. Yeah, my bad. It's in Cuba. So this is a territory that, as someone pointed out, is not directly on the land, directly on the mainland of America, but it is the U.S.'s property. So it allows it to go through some loopholes in that sense. So they're erecting a big tent city. And you're like, okay, what is this for? Now, fears are growing because what happens when you erect a big tent city? Do you all remember World War II? And the Japanese internment camps also housed some people who were German and Italian, but there was also a lot of Japanese people. It's not meaning that it's immediately going to be a concentration camp, but it is a precondition, so we must monitor it closely. So when you are normalizing these kinds of tent cities, and for what reason, and why is it being built in Guantanamo Bay in Cuba instead of on the U.S. mainland? All the Japanese United citizens illegally detained, you mean? Yeah. The Japanese internment camps that also put in some Germans as well as some Italians. That all being said, after pictures emerged Saturday of still unidentified persons transferring to the island from the U.S. mainland by immigration officials, progressive journalist Nathan Robinson was among those raising the alarm. Also, when you're looking at it, building this area, deliberately putting it where it's hardest to monitor or enforce the law. It's a tent city. Now, when looking at all of this, Kristi Noem, who's the director of, national security, or is a part of the NSA, visited the tent camp, and she watched Marines rehearse how to move migrants to the future tent city, and she was shown a tent with its cots and display of basic items, yada, yada, yada. According to critics like Robinson, there's no reason to build this in Guantanamo unless you want to do things you don't think that you could get away with on the U.S. mainland. It's easy to put tents in Florida, but they're putting them up in Cuba. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself why. Why not the mainland? And why did they choose Guantanamo Bay? Guantanamo Bay has been a site known for brutality. It's been a site that we have used endlessly for, brutalization. Especially alarming given the remote location and decades-long documented history of abuse and torture. And so, where there will be exacerbated through ICE, the Immigration Customs Enforcement, detention system, including abuse, unsanitary conditions, medical neglect. In no uncertain terms, lives are in jeopardy. And this is already happening. So that's just another thing that's happening right now. Now, someone who has done a lot of extensive research around World War II and everything happening with Schmittler was saying, when we're looking at this, it's not immediately showing that this is what it is. But it is a precondition. It is an alarming sign. And it is possible that this could happen. So before people immediately jump to conclusions, before we start lobbing accusations, let's just be quite sure. That being said, the actions itself are quite alarming. Like, China's already doing it. I don't care if we do it. Oh, so someone else commits a really, really awful thing against a population of people, so it makes it okay for other people to do it? Are you taking a stance of pro-cruelty? I really have no words. Like, it really is just so sad. We can see what's coming. We really can. We really can. It's gonna get ugly, y'all. It's gonna get ugly. And I really don't know what we're entering into. Prove China is doing this. Though, okay, well, I don't know too much about everything happening with the Uyghur Muslims, though I hear that it's not great. Like, I hear that it's not great, but I'm not here to make that kind of comparison because someone else brought that up in the chat. Like, can you talk about how he's joking about invading Canada? I don't have the graphics to prove or to talk about that right now. But yeah, he has put several times on his Truth Social that he has made the United States, like all Canada included in the United States. Like, so it's just... But let's... He isn't joking, he's serious. Oh, 100%. But let's talk about another thing that he's doing. This is going to be my last story. So much for lowering costs. Fury over Musk's death wish for the CFPB that returned over $20 billion to consumers. Do you all know what the CFPB is? Do you know what it stands for? Do you all know what the CFPB stands for? If you don't, it's okay. If you do, say yes. If you don't, then say no. You all will know it. You just didn't realize that that's the acronym. You all might know what the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is, or if you don't know what it is, you may have heard of it. So how's this? Have you heard of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau? The acronym is simply CFPB. So the reason I'm doing that because Elon Musk put out a tweet or a post or whatever on X saying CFPB RIP, which he's basically saying that he's shutting down the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Do you all know what the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is? So there you go. Do you all know what that is? The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, what does it do? Do you all know what the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau does? It protects us? Aren't they investigating him? Who's they? You mean the CFPB? My office works with them. We're required to report complaints to them. Yeah. So how is this allowed? It's not, but we'll get to that. Rochelle's like, how is this allowed? It's not, but they're still going to do it and try. So, yeah, I like this picture. This was on the, this was at the top of the article here. And by the way, for those people who are like, Scott, what do you use for your live streams when doing this? I use nonpartisan, nonprofit, mostly those news media sources, like Common Dreams, like Truth Out, like Mother Jones, like The Lever. These are nonpartisan, nonprofit. I use other outlets as well for other reasons. I use the Associated Press. I use Reuters. Sometimes I'll do with the occasional drama story like Mediaite. But I always like to go to nonpartisan, nonprofit outlets because they have the most accurate information and the least amount of opinionated language, unless it's an op-ed. And I think that's important, you know? That all being said, this is a piece in Common Dreams. So Elon Musk tweeted out or posted out recently, CFPB RIP. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, rest in peace. And you're like, okay, so he just put that out there. Yeehaw! Thank you! Oh, and by the way, y'all, I'm setting up a Substack right now. So I'm going to be working on a general support subscription model that's not through here. And I'm going to use that as my home base for all of my sort of journalistic efforts and putting out content and all of that stuff. So if you want to support me, I know several people will cash at me, and shout out to several folks in here for doing that. I love all of you. But I want to set up something that can be more stable, house a community, make it more centralized. And so I'm working on that. And in the process, I'm also thinking about doing other merchandise. So if you have any ideas, reach out to me. That all being said, I just wanted to put that out there. So for those people who are like, well, what's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau? This was something that was set up by Congress, passed into law by Congress after the 2007-2008 financial crisis. So this was what it does. It enforces the laws that protect consumers from unfair, deceptive, and abusive practices. It also supervises banks, lenders, credit reporting agencies, debt collection agencies. They provide educational materials and resources to help consumers understand their rights and responsibilities. And they also accept complaints from consumers who have had trouble with a financial product or service. So what it does is it protects consumers, gives them the information, the rights, the ability to fight back against predatory agencies, deceptive practices, and allows them to have a bigger voice. Now, and I appreciate everyone sending likes. Y'all are awesome. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was something that was created in an act through Congress. The CFPB was created under the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform Act and Consumer Protection Act. It was to promote fairness and transparency for mortgages, credit cards, and other consumer financial products and services. The effort was spearheaded by current Democratic Senator, Elizabeth Warren. While she was a Harvard law professor, she was talking about the need to create something like the CFPB. Now, the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, is a nonpartisan group. And what is notable about the CFPB is that it cannot be terminated unless it's done through Congress. So you're like, okay, so nothing to worry about. Well, we'll see. So Elon Musk says Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, RIP. Well, the executive branch is not Congress. They don't have the ability to write legislation to get rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They don't have the ability to do that. But that's not stopping them from trying to do it. So, even though the defenders of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they've returned tens of billions of dollars to duped and defrauded U.S. consumers, expressed outrage overnight and into Saturday that the independent agency was declared deceased by Elon Musk, and its operations were handed over to the chief architect of the far-right Project 2025, Russell Vought, who earlier this week was confirmed as the head of the Office of Management and Budget, the OMB, by Senate Republicans, was named acting director. That all being said, since its creation, the Bureau has returned $21 billion to people's wallets by fighting against illegal financial charges, junk fees, debts, and fraud. Mike Calhoun, the president of the Nonpartisan Center for Responsible Lending, said Saturday. So, when looking at all of this, Trump administration orders Consumer Protection Agency to stop work, and they actually close the building. And this, again, was created as a response to the 2008 financial crisis. So, under Donald Trump and the Republican administration, they're actively undoing the rules, the regulations set and put in place to pull us out of a financial crisis. And people are like, oh yeah, I trust Donald Trump. This is a guy who's actively removing the barriers and the hurdles that allow you the right to actually have more money. You to have the resources to bargain for a better future. Like, and he can't even do this. The executive branch has no authority to actually do this. So, the CFPB is a creation of Congress. It would require a separate act of Congress to formally eliminate it. But the head of the agency has the discretion over what enforcement actions to take, if any. It just baffles me that there are people that continue nodding along like seals thinking that this is somehow good. You're actively undoing the agency that was put in place to stop fraudulent Wall Street from ripping off consumers. Like, it's like you're asking for a pro-corruption government. If there are conservatives out there who believe that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is somehow bad or mismanaged and you want to reform it, okay. But you want to get rid of the entire agency altogether that actually stops corruption. Why? Because you have blind trust in Trump. If Trump were to have put literal crap on a plate and he would just feed it to his people, some people would be gobbling that stuff down. Think for yourself. When you see an agency that stops corruption, that literally is all about protecting consumers from the big banks, from predatory agencies, predatory loans, predatory mortgages. The reason why Wall Street ripped off so many people in the 2007-2008 financial crisis. This was done as a government's response to close some of those loopholes. It wasn't enough, but at least it was something. But yet, the Trump administration's like, no, we want more corruption. We want more handouts for wealthy people. Someone said not like it, then leave the country. Why should I be forced to leave the country? So I can't give any critique of my country? So I'm not allowed as a born American to then give any critique. It's these people are obnoxious. That all being said, it's like they're asking for a pro-corruption government. But is it going to make certain Trump supporters stop and think for a second? No. Because they're in a cult, y'all. Nothing they do is for the people. It's just for the 1%. It's just like, how bad do things have to get before people wake up? How bad? How bad do things have to get? Do we have to see like absolute mass atrocities like physically in our tangible space on the streets before people actually start to realize? Like, for those people who do not know, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they actually fought. Last month, the Bureau sued Capital One for allegedly misleading consumers about its offerings for high interest savings and cheating customers out of more than $2 billion in lost interest payments as a result. This is an agency that takes on the predatory practices of big business that nickel and dime working class people because they're greedy. And the far right is like, we need to get rid of the agency that stops agencies from ripping off consumers, or that stops businesses from ripping off consumers. We need to get rid of the agencies that protect consumers. Do you think for a second? Like, and again, it really goes to show that whatever Donald Trump puts on MAGA people's plates, they will gobble it up, even if it's literal crap. He could say, oh, this is Trump's steak, and it's literally just a piece of crap. And they would say, here, eat it. It's Trump's steaks. It's artisan. It's delicious. They would be gobbling that stuff up. Stop blindly supporting someone like Trump and think critically for yourself. Take up your own agency. That is one of the most patriotic things you can do. I have no words for some of these things, for some of these people. Think for yourself, my guy. That's exactly what I'm saying. Love all these people. So, putting all of that in perspective, just to point out that the person who has been charged with leading the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau also is a guy, or at least closely supervising the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, is a guy named Russell Vought. He is someone who wrote a section of Project 2025. So for those people who are like, Trump doesn't know about Project 2025, blah, 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 blah. So you're admitting that he didn't do adequate reconnaissance or background checks on some of his staff, the people that actually wrote Project 2025 that he put in his cabinet? Like, so, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Marcella, I appreciate that. So when looking at this, Executive Office of the President, this is from Project 2025. This is the new Office of Management and Budget Director. Office of Management and Budget is called OMB. How much do the Dems pay you? First off, Democrats don't pay me. Why, if I'm paid by the Democrats, why do I often criticize them in certain ways? Secondly, no one pays me. Just because I'm saying something that's inconvenient for you to hear doesn't mean that I'm being paid. That's like saying that every single Republican that were to do anything like this, if there was someone doing it, is paid. Do you think? If I were to have said that exact same thing, you'd be like, what? No, I'm just sharing. Exactly. So what makes you think it's a pick and choose ideology? So, going back to this, Russell Vought is someone, or Russell Vought, I don't know how to say his name, was someone who wrote a section in Project 2025 about the executive branch. And I don't remember which of the dudes Russell Vought is. I think it's this guy. I believe it's because that's the same guy, right? So, that all being said, this is someone who directly wrote a section in Project 2025 about the executive branch. He is now the new Office of Management and Budget Director. So, for him to have been then sworn in and attempting to close the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, this is what the Trump administration's prioritizing. This is what they're prioritizing. They are doing whatever they can to stop even the slightest good parts our government has to actually protect people. This is how we see a fall of a country. We see a fall of democracy. I don't mean to be hyperbolic. But like, this is literally, we are seeing the parts that are meant to protect people being shut down. We're seeing a massive brainwashing effort. And it's sad. It really is sad. So how do we fight against this? Education is power. Knowing your own agency. Being able to make your own decisions. Don't just blindly follow someone else. Don't even just blindly follow me. Think critically about what I'm saying as well. Like, I'm not 100% correct or right or accurate on anything. No person is. But also, we in this country have such blind faith in certain politicians based on convenience, based on heuristics, a cognitive shortcut. Think critically for yourself. When Donald Trump and his people are eliminating an agency that was set up to protect consumers from predatory practices of big business, and for what reason? What reason do you have to do that? Are they going to replace it with something very similar? Or are they just going to get rid of the concept altogether? Notice how it's very much grievance politics. All of this, okay, they're getting rid of this Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. How does that help you? How does that help you? Does that lower your rent? Does it stop agencies from price gouging you? Does it stop big business from ripping you off? How does it benefit you? It doesn't. When you eliminate an agency designed to protect you from fraudulent practices, it's like you're advocating for brutality. And Trump thinks that MAGA, he thinks that y'all are morons. He thinks y'all are fools. He uses you like pawns for his schemes. I don't know. And I'm not like preaching at them necessarily. I'm just like, I'm baffled. I'm baffled by this moment. He uses MAGA like pawns. Like, I have no words. I have no words. I have nothing else to say here. But I also have to get to work. So I appreciate every single one of you. Y'all are awesome. I know today's live was very interesting. None of you make enough to be supporting these tax breaks. Be for real, for real. What are you talking about? Like, I'm confused. I'm confused. Yeah, like, it's I don't think that people consciously realize their actions. I really don't. I think they just blindly follow Trump, and then whatever he wants to do, they're like gonna go with. I think some people, cruelty is the point, but for others it's like they just want to be a part of a team because they don't want to feel alone. I appreciate every single one of you. Was this anyone's first live stream? I think for add a PayPal link. Yeah, I do have a PayPal, although I have a Venmo and a Cash App. And I'm also setting up Substack right now. So I'm in the midst of setting that up. And I'm also thinking about doing some, some other merchandise. So stay tuned for that. But thank you all for being in here. I appreciate all of you. Akicha, I love you. You're awesome. The Effulgent One, you're incredible. I love you. Stop asking. Vonda, that flower chick. Oh, Ginger Monster, love you. Marcella, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Murado? Let's be friends. Dark Willow, I've seen you several times in here. Let's be friends. If I see you in here several times, I'll just like, I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna like, oh, you're someone that comes into my live streams all the time. Love to connect with you, you know? Magenta Rose, good morning. I just got on here. Are you on daily? I am, Jennifer. I'm sorry you just missed the live stream. I do post them to YouTube. I post my live streams to YouTube, so please make sure to check that out. And if you go to my profile, let's see, for those people who are like, okay, Scott, where else can I go to see past live streams and stuff like that? If you go to my profile and you click on this link tree right here, it will take you to this page where you can see my Instagram, my YouTube. I've been posting more to my Blue Sky, my Clapper. I've been trying out some other apps as well, but I'm mainly doing YouTube in addition to TikTok. But I'm trying to do Clapper and Blue Sky and also Substack. So we're doing a mix. I don't really want to use meta platforms. But like, I'm also going to go where the people go because I'm trying to inform people about stuff. So please go and do that. I appreciate every single one of you. If you want to send me a tip for my hard work, $2, $5, it means a lot on Venmo or Cash App. That's included in the link tree here. Shout out to all of my amazing moderators in here. Kate, the Effulgent One, Akicha, I Love You Stop Asking, Joanna Tech, that one guy. Y'all are all awesome. I seriously love all of you. I would not be anything without all of you. Alora Dannon, you were so good with presenting the facts, Scott? Thank you. I work hard. I work really hard to do this. And you are my morning sanity. See, those are the things that I really need to hear. Like, when people, like, I don't know that flower chick. I think I've seen you in here several times, I think. That's why I just requested to follow you. But it means a lot to know that I'm reaching people that I might not even realize I'm reaching. Because the purpose of my platform is to give you the tools to think critically for yourself, to provide you the facts, the information. I will share my opinion, and if you agree with my opinion, great. If you don't, okay. I'll say that you're wrong, but like, this is the kind of journalism that we need. And I think I finally do believe that what I'm doing, I used to have this as a problem. To me, it just comes all naturally. But this is stuff that needs to be taught and nurtured. The kind of critical thinking and empathy is not something that maybe comes to mind immediately. We've also been so socialized into trying to gravitate towards hate and division, because that's how this country has been focusing. The past 12 years has been all about fostering hate and division, not about fostering facts and empathy and critical thinking. So like, we need a re-education of a way to make a politics that is about progressing forward instead of falling back on bigoted and prejudiced and practices that help the wealthy and already the well-connected. Like, I'm so over it. And so I finally have gotten to a point where I'm like, you know what? We need to fund this. We need to fund independent journalists and actually give them a fighting chance against this. There are so many different independent journalists, truly independent, that do great work. Ryan Grimm is one. You also have Ken Klippenstein. You also have some really, really great independent people on YouTube. You have David Dole of The Rational National, Kyle Kalinske of Secular Talk, Francesca Fiorentini, who's actually a friend of mine. You have Emma Vigland and Sam Cedar. The Vanguard does a little bit more like pop culture kinds of stuff. They do great work. I should do a whole video breaking all of this down, because there are a lot of really great YouTubers, really great content creators, and there are also people on Substack, and then you also have people on YouTube that do this kind of stuff. I think it's like Politics Girl does it, Under the Desk News. I know other people like Chewbacca that do stuff like this, but I have my own little flavor. Anyway, I appreciate every single one of you. I need to go. Oh, thank you, Magenta Rose. I really appreciate that. I really, really do. You're reaching Switzerland. I hope that's okay. I listen to you. Absolutely. Oh my God. Let's be friends, Switzerland. Oh, Jenny! Okay, I would also want to give a shout out to my friend Jenny here. I'm going to quickly pin this comment. Jenny, I love you so much. Those people who do not know, Jenny has an amazing personal story and also has been helping me out with some of my merchandise. So, I love you, Jenny, and you're awesome. And I'm sending lots of love and good vibes. Anyway, I need to go. I appreciate every single one of you. Just remember that you are beautiful. You are loved. Rochelle Alexis, love you. You are valid. MJ, love you. Kate, love you. Akicha, love you. Jenny, love you. I see everyone in here. Y'all are awesome. The Effulgent One. Jennifer. You all are incredible. Just remember that you are beautiful. You are loved. You are valid. You are strong. And you are fierce. Don't let anyone... Oh, R3, you too. Alora, thank you. Don't let anyone or anything ever, 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 ever dim your shine. Oh, Meg, thanks. I love you all so much. Bye.